So you'd like to know my top 5 tips for making mosaics? You're in the right place. I'm Helen Miles and I'm here to teach you all the tips and tricks you need to make mosaics. My top number 1 tip to make mosaics is to plan ahead. When you're making mosaics, you're using hard materials, whether it be glass, pebbles, ceramic, marble, or all of the other mosaic materials you might have chosen. And what you're doing is you're either inserting them into a mortar base or gluing them down onto a permanent substrate. So once you've made the decision to place a tile or a tessera, as the individual pieces used in mosaics are called, it is difficult to change your mind. Obviously, you could dig out the piece from the mortar or unglue it if the glue hasn't dried. But both of these processes can be messy and they're certainly really annoying and could disrupt other pieces you've already firmly stuck down. This makes it sound as if making mosaics is not a spontaneous process, but that isn't true at all. You make a lot of decisions as you work, but it's just much easier to make those decisions if you've done your preparation first. So my top tip is take time over your design and prepare the tesserae in advance by cutting them or sorting them into colours or tones. Another stage of the preparation is to do a dry lay before you insert the tiles or the tesserae into the mosaic. So this is a mosaic that I made using Winckelmann's unglazed ceramic, some vitreous glass and some gold smalty. And I've made it using the tile adhesive method on a homemade substrate. Both of these techniques are explained in other videos. So because the tile adhesive dries over time, I don't want to be spending time cutting the tiles while the tile adhesive is in place. So I will cut the tiles first, be sure that I'm happy with them. So I've cut some here to show you just as a little example of some tiles cut for a mouth. Then I will spread the tile adhesive just on the section where I want to lay them and then transpose the tiles to the particular area which I am working on. So this is quite a complex example of the dry lay method, but I do it with almost all my mosaics. My second tip for making mosaics is to be patient. Mosaics are slow. I've been making mosaics for almost 20 years and there's no amount of experience or understanding of the medium that can change the fact that mosaics take a long time to make. This is part of their beauty, so don't expect to make a mosaic quickly and don't rush it. If you rush it, it won't work. The wonderful thing about mosaics is that each piece is considered and placed with attention, so it becomes a completely immersive process, so embrace that process and enjoy it. My third tip is to keep experimenting, playing and exploring with mosaics. If you have some leftover adhesive or thin set and you're feeling uninspired or you just need to take a break from whatever project you're working on, then I thoroughly recommend spending time just experimenting and trying out new things. It could just be a different material or a colour that you've always avoided before, or just working on a new substrate. I often make these little sample pieces using offcuts of Jacco board and just allow myself to see whatever emerges. So these are the opposite of planned pieces that I described earlier. The good thing about experiments is they're just small pieces, and if you don't like what you've made, then you haven't spent a huge amount of time and energy on it. But if you do like it, it could develop into something else. Tip number 4 is to not strive for perfection when you're making mosaics. Don't get too hung up over the rules of mosaic making, creating perfect lines, or fussing about andamento. One of the many things I love about mosaics is that they are forgiving. A mosaic, by its very nature, is fractured, and there's always a lot happening visually when you look at them. This busyness works to your advantage, as it means that things that you might consider to be mistakes as you work will in fact get completely submerged in the overall effect of the mosaic. So although detail is important, after all, the eye is drawn into the mosaic because of the detail, don't get too hung up about it. I know these seem like two contradictory bits of advice, but in summary what I'm saying is take it slowly, plan carefully, but if you do make decisions as you're working, which would require a lot of time and possible damage to undo, then I would suggest you leave them, because things that you perceive as wrong will almost certainly be invisible to the viewer. So I've taken this mosaic as an example, which I made a long time ago when I was first starting out, and it's full of what I might now consider to be mistakes. There's lots of examples of teeny tiny little tesserae shoved in to fill spaces. The andamento is wrong. There are too many triangles. I haven't done very good keystones. But this is a quite large mosaic. It's too large for me to show under the camera. And these mistakes, in inverted commas, are lost within the overall composition. Well, at least I like to think so. Tip number 5, use your phone to help you make decisions as you work. Your phone is a really good, useful, general tool to help you make better mosaics. So take pictures as you're working. They will give you a perspective on, or basically they help you step back from the work and see what you're doing from a different perspective. So this is really helpful if you're working head down in concentrating hard with lots of detail. So just stand back, take some photographs, go have a cup of coffee, look at those photographs, and you'll get a much better idea of the overall effect that you're achieving. You can also use your phone to take grayscale photos of your materials while you're in the planning stage, and that will help you check to see if you've got enough contrast for your design or your image. And of course, it's really important to take photographs simply to document your mosaics during the work in progress, during the stages of making, as well as the finished mosaic. So you can use these when you're planning future mosaics and you want to look back and see what you'd like to change or what you'd like to keep about the previous mosaic. And last but not least, obviously you use your phone to take photographs of mosaics so that you can post them online. Which leads me to my 6th bonus tip, which is to join a mosaic organisation or a Facebook group. The mosaic community is hugely welcoming and happy to share information. Almost every continent has a mosaic organisation for mosaic professionals or hobbyists. I am a member of the British Association for Modern Mosaic, and I'm based in Scotland, which means I'm also a member of the regional BAM Scotland group. And we have regular meetups and skill shares and work-alongs. And we're always sharing tips and information, which I find hugely helpful. So whether you're just starting out making mosaics or you've already been making mosaics for a while and you'd just like to be part of a support network, then I'd really recommend that you join a mosaic community of some kind. If joining an official organisation isn't feasible for you, then I would recommend a general open Facebook group like Mosaic Mentoring or My Mosaic Friends. So that's my 5 tips, which has become 6 tips for you. If you like this video and you'd like to see more, then please subscribe below.